Tonight, in this edition of the primetime newscast on Equinox Television, 8 political parties would be taking part in the senatorial election in Cameroon after the elections governing body Elecam today announced the rejection of 5 lists out of the 42 list of candidates submitted prior to the 25th of March political contest in Cameroon. Also ahead, we are going to be bringing to you an exclusive report on the situation of Anglophone refugees in neighboring Nigeria. We shall be taking you to the Cross River State in Nigeria to tell you how some Anglophone refugees are coping, what took them there. Derek Chato is going to be telling us more on that in this edition of the Primetime Newscast on Equinox Television. Those are headlines. We shall be right back. Stay with us. Good evening to you, ladies and gentlemen. You're watching the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinox Television. Let's begin right away in politics. Out of the hundreds of political parties existing in Cameroon, only 8 would be taking part in the second ever senatorial elections in the country on the 25th of March 2018 after 5 lists of candidates were rejected by Elections Cameroon. Only 2 of the 8 participating parties have had their list of candidates validated across the 10 regions of Cameroon. They are the CPDM and the UNDP political parties. In the following report, we shall be looking at the various lists that were retained in the 10 regions of Cameroon. Elections Cameroon has rejected 5 lists out of the 42 lists of candidates submitted for the March 25th senatorial election in Cameroon. 1 list of the Social Democratic Front in the center region was withdrawn, making it a total of 36 lists validated by the elections governing body. The 8 political parties to take part in the senatorial election across the 10 regions of Cameroon were made public in a press declaration in Yaoundé, presided over by the president of the Electoral Board of Elections Management Body, Eno Abrams Ekpe. The National Union for Democracy and Progress, the NUDP, and the Cameroon People's Democratic Movement, the CPDM parties, will be taking part in the senatorial election across the 10 regions of Cameroon. The Social Democratic Front Party submitted 6 lists of candidates, and after withdrawing 1 from the center region, only candidates of the Adamawa, Littoral, Northwest, the West, the Southwest regions of Cameroon would be taking part in the election. The ANDP would take part in the senatorials in the far north, the Littoral, the Southwest regions. The list of candidates of the Cameroon Democratic Union of Adamu Damjoya have been retained in the Littoral, Northwest and West regions, the UPC in the Center region, the National Salvation Front Party of Issa Shoma Bakari in the North region, the UMS Party in the West region of Cameroon. Parties whose files have been rejected have few days to file an appeal at the Constitutional Council as stipulated in Article 129 of the Electoral Code. And here in the economic capital, Douala, away from politics, the Minister of Defense, Joseph Betia Somo, has challenged the newly appointed military officials to immediately take up their responsibilities. Joseph Betia Somo made the call as he was installing the commander of the 2nd Military Region, General Salim Muhammadu, as well as other officials into their functions at the Beseke ceremonial ground here in the economic capital. Suman Jikangebre was there. He brought back the following report for the primetime newscast.
They were 5 in number who were commissioned into office by the Defense Minister Joseph Betia Somo. All were appointed in the recent presidential decree that was signed by the Chief of Armed Forces, Paul Biya. All 5 officials were told by the Defense Minister to take seriously their new positions owing to the fact that they were appointed when the country is facing several challenges, particularly at the level of security. General Salim Muhammadu will now control the 2nd military sector, Remia 2, that involves the Southwest region. Reasons why Southwest Governor Bernardo Kalia Bilai was at the Beseke ceremonial ground in the course of the installation ceremony. General Salim Muhammadu will have a great task of curbing the security issues in the southwest region, particularly the ongoing Anglophone crisis. General Tonge Elias is now the commander of the 2nd Gendarmerie Legion that also includes the southwest region. Meanwhile, Kemfa Ndongmo will manage the naval and land forces. Lieutenant Colonel Nge Baha Christie heads the Air Force base, and Colonel Bomo Siriak will take charge of the ex-servicemen and war victims. The ceremony that was strictly done in military style was attended by top administrative officials in literal and well wishes. Different dance groups graced the event.
And just to note that during the ceremony that took place at the Beseke ceremonial ground here in the economic capital Douala, the appointed officials were told to collaborate with Nigerian forces and check the activities of pro-independent fighters in neighboring Nigeria, as well as the 2 Anglophone regions of Cameroon. As a result of the Anglophone crisis, we of course will be bringing to you the report of fleeing Anglophone refugees to neighboring Nigeria. That's going to be in the end of this newscast. We now talk about activities to mark the 33rd edition of the International Women's Day that continued today across the national territory. As far as the activities in Limbe are concerned, how have women been able to contribute in nation building is the focal point of debates as well as meetings taking place ahead of the International Women's Day that would be taking place tomorrow across the national territory and the world at large. Davis Maimo took keen interest in some of the activities carried out by women in Limbe, and he tells us more in the following report.
All is set for the 2018 International Women's Day celebration in Limbe. After engaging in so many activities, including cleanup campaign and sporting activities of various domains, not leaving out culture and traditional display, this group of women say as an African woman, it is imperative to think about the welfare of children as they go celebrating the International Women's Day. Reason behind their visit to some orphanages within the Limbe municipality.
But we always know that it's a time of enjoyment for many women to go and enjoy and so on. But this action is a positive action. I pray that may God give them more and more in Jesus' name.
Amen.
We don't really have words to express what we are feeling because it's so mighty.
Putting smiles on the faces of these orphans is their objective.
I'm very happy today for seeing people here coming to help us. Actually, there are others outside there who don't have it, but we have it abundance. So I thank God for everything.
These women from the Limbe City Council say celebrating the International Women's Day is not all about merrymaking.
There's more to International Women's Day. You know, you have to think what you can do for women, for children, for yourselves, for your community. So I'm encouraging women of Limbe City Council, I'm encouraging women folk in general, that they should contribute their own quota to development and peace in Limbe.
It is only hoped that this year's celebrations should not generate negative stories about women in Limbe.
And the Minister of Women's Empowerment and the Family, Marie-Therese Abena Ondwa, has admitted that the fundamental rights of women are still to be respected or are still not being respected in Cameroon. She called on the need for traditional rulers to put an end to some traditional practices that are in total violation of the rights of Cameroonian women. She called on the need for women to celebrate the 33rd edition of the International Women's Day with humility, responsibility, as well as avoid excesses. And on the sidelines of the International Women's Day, we equally focused on one of the female divisional officers in Cameroon, a female DO for Bioa subdivision in the Nyong and Keli division of the Central region of Cameroon, that says that she is determined to bring development to our area of command despite the diverse problems confronting her. These are the problems are bad roads, a lack of electricity as well as potable water. She was speaking to reporters of Equinox Television. EQUINOXE Aze has the details.
Celine Bilyehe Losuga is the divisional officer for Biyuha subdivision in the Nyong Ankele division of the Central Region, executing a housewife and administrative duties simultaneously in a municipality characterized by numerous underdevelopment problems like absence of good roads, electricity, and pipe-borne water is not a rosy task.
Je voudrais que l'arrondissement de Biyuha sorte.
As a woman, she is determined to work diligently to overshadow the daily challenges she meets. She does extra sacrifices to serve a couple of masters at a time.
Dans le premier problème que je rencontre,
Lack of appealing public structures, administrative offices equipped with a computer and materials equally impedes efforts to work efficiently to develop the municipality in a deplorable state and deserted manner.
nous n'avons pas d'outils de travail adaptés.
At first, she was compelled to leave her office and cover long distances to type and print documents. To curb this issue, she decided to provide herself a laptop.
Et de ce fait, et même avant d'avoir le laptop,
Personnel live in far-off localities and are usually delayed to work by the muddy and rugged seasonal roads.
les fonctionnaires affectés à Biyuha ne peuvent pas se loger décemment.
Complaints reaching her office surmount recommendations giving headache. Passion she has for the administrative duty is remedy.
Il faut que j'ai aimé ce travail que je fais pour prendre sur moi et partir.
Celine Bilyehe Lesuga guarantees to give Biyuha a colorful look as long as she serves as divisional officer. She occupies the office since the 22nd of May, 2017.
That is how a divisional officer in the Biyuha subdivision of the Nyong Ankele in the Central Region of Cameroon is coping as an administrative official and a housewife there, compiled by EQUINOXE Aze. We take you now to the far north region of Cameroon. An impressive turnout has been recorded at the just-ended vaccination campaign against polio in Kuseri of the far north region of Cameroon. It should be noted that natives of Kuseri had remained reticent towards vaccinating their kids after it was rumored that it kills children, or it killed children in neighboring Chad. Our reporter Simanji Kangebril has the details.
There were 200 women who were trained by UNICEF to enable the successful vaccination exercise in Kuseri, far north region of Cameroon. The exercise saw these women moving from door to door to enable each child aged between 0 to 5 years to get a dose of the vaccine. Something that gave joy to one of the ladies involved in the exercise. At first, the women who brought their children for vaccination were few, but now they came out massively. In the village I was controlling, everyone came to the hospital with the child. Inhabitants of Kuseri who have remained reticent to vaccination exercise before because of fear of a possible immediate death of their siblings had to be sensitized, as the Sultan of Kuseri affirms. Before, they didn't understand the importance of vaccination. But with the sensitization I did with them, many understood and reasons why they came out massively. The rumor of a vaccine that killed children in N'Djamena, capital of Chad, scared the inhabitants of Kuseri to flee away from the exercise. Much reasons that made the vaccination campaign team to also position themselves at the borders to enable them get little children of vaccination age.
And we said in the beginning of this newscast that the situation of Anglophone refugees in neighboring Nigeria is more and more preoccupying. The number of registered asylum seekers in Cross River State in Nigeria has increased drastically from 12,000 to 17,000 officially in just few weeks. It should be noted that in the month of February, it was indicated that some 12,000 refugees have so far been registered officially from Anglophone Cameroon to neighboring Nigeria. Now, the government of Cameroon is still very indifferent, or is still to make an official statement on the situation of Anglophone refugees that are currently seeking refuge in Nigeria. Derek Jato was part of the members of the Aya Foundation that visited some of the refugee camps in Nigeria. He brought back the following package for the primetime newscast.
Described by an international body as living under life-threatening conditions, these Southern Cameroonian refugees here in Cross River State, Nigeria, are being visited by Aya Foundation, a Cameroon-based non-governmental organization. And the foundation came in from Cameroon with life-saving provisions, and the team first stop point was here at EQUINOXE local government area to have a true picture from the Nigerian authorities of the situation on the ground. Mr. Julius Adai, EQUINOXE local government area chairman, immediately convened a meeting during which he briefed Mr. Aya Abine on the registered number of Cameroonian refugees.
In a nutshell, they have to get into 17,000 registered ones. Yes. The number of unregistered ones. Those ones we cannot ascertain for now because the exercise is ongoing. The registration is a daily exactly who coming in. If you look at it, there is a structure there I initially get to the United Nations as an office to register them. So they do that on daily basis, and occasionally they move into these areas where they are being camped to register those who have not been registered. They are being given identity.
The accommodation centers,
right from the ranch axis, Novaneko local government area, through Boki to EQUINOXE and EQUINOXE local government area. There are 5, including Obudu, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 local government areas that are presently. Okay, I understand it is turning up to Akampa. Akampa is close to Calabar.
The fractured family sizes that came in.
And we quite sympathize with the helpless populace when they got to discover that households, in some cases, the families were scattered. You could find only the children without their parents, some wives without their husbands, some husbands without the wives. But in a few cases, they came in as told.
The commitment of the Nigerian government.
The government of Nigeria is ready to do more for them. Even my state government, His Excellency Professor Ben Ayado, sent in quite a large number of relief material through SEMA that was distributed.
And as the Chief Security Officer of this local government area, Mr. Julius Adai assured Mr. Aya Abine of the Cameroonian refugee security in his area of command.
The security-wise, I often instruct my security agencies to ensure that they extend the same security provision they make for the indigents of Nigeria to these our unfortunate brothers and sisters, to ensure that none of them is unnecessarily molested. My joy is that so far so good. I've not had cause from any of them who is giving me headache.
Also present was an agent of the United Nations, High Commissioner for Refugees, an organization that has been on the ground for some time now. From EQUINOXE local government area in Cross River State of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, I am Derek Jato on an international assignment for EQUINOXE Television News.
Derek Jato, they're reporting from Nigeria, where some Anglophone refugees are currently, where some Anglophones are seeking refuge in neighboring Nigeria. It should be noted that Tomorrow we are of course going to be bringing to you some reports on how and why some Anglophone Cameroonians had to escape to neighboring Nigeria. Now we talk sports activities of the National Football Academy would effectively kick off in 3 days. From now, the director of the academy, Carl Enongachu, met the information public during a press conference that took place in Yaoundé today, and prior to the event, the selection of the students for the academy took place in the 10 regions across Cameroon. Babla Jonathan tells us more in this report.
25 boys and 25 girls will begin training in the different training centers of the National Football Academy in all 10 regions of Cameroon. March 10, 2018. The 50 young Cameroonians successfully went through the 18-day selection exercise conducted by 20 football experts of the academy in the regions.
From the 1st to the 18th of February 2018, in all of our 10 regional posts was carried out the selection of the future students of the first generation of our regional representations. We can tell you how astonished we were by the high demand of Anglophone teams deployed on the field. Thus, our objective was to receive children born between the years 2005 and 2006. However, I can assure you that in our various courses, we met children born between 2003 and 2010.
They were selected among more than 500 evaluated out of thousands registered by the academy.
I announced 2,636 young children recorded by our teams deployed within the context of registrations. Along the way, the numbers increased. After high grading, we worked on a sample of 2,753 youths, including 117 children more.
And this is what the top officials of the academy observed during the selection exercise.
The Deputy General Manager and I happened to observe in these kids various emotions such as fear, doubt, passion, a desire to excel, to please, and above all to stand out in the eyes of scouts.
Those selected will train in the different training centers of the academy in the regions, following a field training timetable of 3 days per week. They will pay 10,000 francs CFA for registration and 40,000 francs CFA for training equipment.
And an additional list of 10 boys has been established by order of merit to raise the number of students in the regional training center to 60. The phase would lead to the selection of some 50 young Cameroonians for the training center in the nation's capital, Yaoundé. Let us now have the director of the National Football Academy, Carl Enongachu, explains further in the following excerpt.
Those journalists, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to start by wishing you a hearty welcome in these premises, which will from now on host the headquarters of the National Football Academy in the neighborhood known as Fabric Ngusu. We are assembling here today for the formalization and publishing of the list of the very first batch of students of Anglophone Regional Board. Dear journalists, ladies and gentlemen, from the 1st to the 18th of February 2018, in all of our 10 regional posts was carried out the selection of the future students of the first generation of our regional representations. We can tell you how astonished we were by the high demand of Anglophone teams deployed on the field. Thus, our objective was to receive children born between the years 2005 and 2006. However, I can assure you that in our various courses, we met children born between 2003 and 2010. The Deputy General Manager and I happened to observe in these kids various emotions such as fear, doubt, passion, a desire to excel, to please, and above all to stand out in the eyes of scouts. I will take this opportunity to show appreciation to the Deputy General Manager who was there to reorient our various collaborators on the field. It is equally the opportunity to thank my collaborators who gave their all in terms of efficiency, availability, and responsibility. Allow me to also thank you, dear journalists, for your assistance and support. Dear journalists, ladies and gentlemen, during our first encounter at Amadu Ayojo Stadium, I announced 2,636 young children recorded by our teams deployed within the context of registrations. Along the way, the numbers increased. After high grading, we worked on a sample of 2,753 youths, including 117 children more. Altogether, we evaluated 370 girls against 2.
That is the director of the National Football Academy, Carl Enongachu, speaking to our reporter in Yaoundé, Ike Cyril. That was during the press conference today. That brings us to the end of this edition of the Primetime Newscast on Equinox Television. Viewers, we thank you so much for joining us as usual. Wishing you a blessed stay in the company of our programs until we meet again. Goodbye.
Equinox Télévision, au-delà de l'image, nous rendons compte.
De lundi à vendredi sur Equinox Télévision.
Ne pardonne pas. Voilà, c'est la partie que j'attendais. Ne pardonne pas. C'est disons tout.